Our next speaker is from DriverLink, discussing their telematics system. Mick Ryan is the director of DriverLink. He'll be talking about how DriverLink can assist with ensuring transport companies are able to comply with legislation and reduce the chance of an unwanted event. We will have, again, the opportunity to ask him some questions after the presentation, so send them through. And a big welcome to Mick. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Ladies and gents, thank you for your time. My name's Michael Ryan and I'm the Director of DriverLink, telematics company leading the way in driver safety technology. I'm also the Director of Ryan Plant Hire Proprietary Limited, which is responsible for the cartage of concrete out of most of the concrete plants in Sydney Metro. First, what I'd like to address with you is fatigue management. Fatigue is classified as extreme tiredness resulting from mental or physical exertion or illness, which can result in delayed reaction times, impaired judgment, or even physiological changes. The regulating bodies for this are HVNL and NHVR. Up in front of you, I've got a diagram indicating the different factors of driver fatigue. An alert driver, in studies have found, has a response time of 0.189 seconds reaction time. A fatigue driver has a 15% increase on this figure. A heavily fatigued driver at night has a 39% increase. What does this mean for our vehicles? If a driver is heavily fatigued, he has 10 metres extra stopping distance, and that's in the best case scenario, putting him through traffic lights, pedestrian crossings. So it's incredibly important for us to maintain our fatigue management. Some of the controls implemented by Telematics are variations of fatigue reporting, allocated start times, allocated work hours, digital transparency compliance, artificial intelligence driver-focused monitoring systems, and biometric data sharing. Fatigue reporting comes in three forms: HVNL, EWD, and EWD compliance. Up here we have one report done under HVNL, which is important to address because unfortunately the regulating bodies don't necessarily correlate with their information. So if I was to be under EWD or EWD compliance, I could be breaching through HVNL, the Heavy Vehicle National Law. By putting everyone under the Heavy Vehicle National Law, we'll see compliance in all three formats: allocated work hours and start times. Now, the NHVR standards are 17 hours per day total working time, 7 hours of stationary rest time, and the next start time. Now, in order to maintain the regulations, a driver must have 15 minutes rest time in his first 5.5 hours of working, half hour of rest time in his first 8 hours of working, and 1 hour of rest time in his first 11 hours of working, all done in a minimum of 15-minute increments. We can also look at NHVAS basic fatigue management, which allows a more flexible work hours to be introduced, only linked with accreditation, or furthering that, NHVAS advanced fatigue management. This allows you to create your own safety management system and work hours linked to accreditation. Digital transparency compliance. Now, what we do in telematics is we create digital transparency. It means everything is recorded, everything is maintained. It eliminates those things such as human error or human negligence. We log the exact start time and finish time. We log rest periods in accordance with NHVR and HVNL regulations. We knock any of the drivers out of a rest period if they do something in that rest period that classifies as a breach. How do we do this? If they move the vehicle by any means, they'll be knocked out of a break. It will not be recorded. If they engage the PTO or disengage their maxi brakes, once again, they'll be knocked out of a rest period because that is classified as work. We maintain all three manners of accruing this data. It provides reports that are easily accessible at a button's press of the driver to show any regulating bodies, or from head office to do the same. Now, the issue with manual work diaries is we open them up to human error. Human error may be drivers missing out on certain segments, or not filling them in correctly, or not knowing the exact rules and regulations that they need to abide by. Unfortunately, that puts them in breach. It also puts the businesses that they work for in breach. Another issue that we come up across often is human complacency. Now, human complacency is a subtle one. You know, drivers, how often do you think drivers can look at their time and go, oh, 12 minutes is close enough to 15, or 27 minutes is close enough to 30? Unfortunately, those rest periods do not classify because they have not reached a full 15-minute term. Through digital transparency, we can ensure they do, alleviating the risk of fatigue to crimp in on your drivers. Driver monitoring systems. Now, artificial intelligence runs through our centre camera watching the driver. It can pick up things that basic driver fatigue procedures can't. Droopy eyes, yawning, looking out the window while in motion for too long of a period. These are all indicators of driver fatigue. Our system will not only notify your driver immediately, it will also notify head office as to the breach, and that the driver should pull over, have a rest before he commences work. Biometric data sharing. Now, this is something that we're very proud and excited about. It's something that we're working very hard to implement into all of our systems now. Now, biometric data sharing is a very common thing. We all have them, smartwatches and all different types of paraphernalia that help monitor different things in our system. Why aren't they implemented into telematics? They can record blood pressure, stress levels, sleep patterns, heart rate, and blood oxygenation levels. Now, I could give you an entire list of what these different things do, but just using one. A low heart rate can be a very common display of bradycardia. Bradycardia can include dizziness, fainting, lightheadedness, memory loss. Decision-making skills can be severely inhibited. Load management. Load management is a constant issue within the transport industry. Whether it's freight transport, materials handling, they all have the same issue. That's overloading of gross weight, dispersion of weights per axle, and load shifts. Now, we have scales that are set up in each truck. These scales come in two different forms of systems. One is your pneumatic system, which will give you your gross weight. It will give you a gross weight accurate to within 100 kilo. On a 37-tonne payload, that's a pretty good accuracy. We also have in-body ultrasonic sensors. Now, these sensors work on millimetre wave technology. They can pick up millimetre shifts from 0.2 to 20 metres away inside a vehicle. So if something visually shifts, these will pick it up. It will notify your driver immediately that they've had a load shift, also notifying head office, so that the proper procedure can be put in place for the driver to pull over, check his load, and ensure that it's safe for him to continue. We also implement accelerometers into this system. Now, unlike the ultrasonic sensors, these work on force, specifically G-force. They can register forward, back, side to side, and up and down G-force, enabling us to have a second fail-safe to pick up any load shift that happens. And once again, this notification will go to the driver and to head office. Nextly, we have safety equipment operations. Some of the controls we put in place for safe equipment operations are COR questions, pre-start checks, CAN bus data, weights, 360-degree cameras and ultrasonic sensors once again. Now, first we have our COR questions. These ensure that every driver, when entering a vehicle, selects yes. if he is fit for duty. If he's fit for duty, he is allowed to continue. If any of the questions are answered no, he will be told to report to a manager and under no circumstances to operate said vehicle. Nextly, we have your pre-start checks. Now, your pre-start checks are your prevention is better than cure. Prevent the incident from happening before it gets there. Now, these run in 3 different classifications. Red means high risk, indicating for the driver to stop and under no means operate the vehicle and notify his necessary supervisors. A yellow notification will be moderate risk. He will be told that he needs to report to his supervisor before operating said vehicle. And green will be low risk and will be reported automatically through the system. All reports travel through the system and are logged to maintain that that vehicle on that day was safe to operate. This alleviates things like bald tyres, which increase stopping distance, cracks in couplings causing trailer detachment, load variations. Now, we also utilise the CAN bus data. Now, the CAN bus data we automatically log into. This gives you lots of metrics, whether it be your water temperature, engine hours worked for servicing, oil temperature, weights, RPM. This is automatically logged and constantly maintained. If there is an issue and it goes outside of the normal parameters, that will be automatically notified to head office as well as the driver to inspect the vehicle and figure out what is wrong. Weights. We implement weights and what we call live readings of weights. Not only do we check the loads as they're being put on, we check them from in-cab, enabling your drivers to not exit their vehicle, not enter exclusion zones, and stay in a safe area at all times. We also monitor all these loads while in travel. 360-degree cameras and ultrasonic sensors. In front of you, we've got some blind spots. Now, this is just done on a heavy rigid vehicle, but I'm sure you can imagine when you start talking about articulated vehicles, how much more severe it comes. It's a regular occurrence that drivers are expected to not only reverse into tight positions, but do it blindly. By implementing ultrasonic sensors, we have sensors all around the vehicle that can pick up millimetre wave movement from 0.1 to 40 metres away, indicating directly to the driver immediately that something has gone into his path and he's in a danger zone. We've also implemented 360-degree cameras with a 200-degree pan view. With this, we can implement what's called a bird's eye view, giving the driver at all times full view of everything surrounding him and his trailer, whether it be in a blind spot or not. Road rule complacency. Road rule complacency is something we've all dealt with. Many of us have had speeding fines and probably much fewer of us haven't. Some of the driver-linked solutions to deal with this scenario is overspeed and speed checking. Your drivers will be notified after 30 seconds if they are overspeeding. This can be changed to 15 seconds or 10 seconds, depending on whatever the company's preference is. We also have heavy vehicle limited road routes. Now, we, to our knowledge, are the only telematics system that have these routes, stopping drivers from going down weight limited roads, height limited roads, or width limited roads, alleviating the risk of incidents occur from them being on the incorrect path. We also have accurate reporting of incidents and near misses. We have this by the onboard cameras that register everything that happens around the truck in 360-degree view. These cameras are not only kept and maintained, all the footage, but they can also be accessed remotely at any time and live streamed from head office. Geofencing on high-risk areas. Now, something that we've seen most often in high-risk descents specifically is the use of low gear in trucks. With our system, you can set up a geofence around a high-risk area, and as a truck descents into that area, if it is not in low range, a notification will be sent to the driver immediately, and then be forwarded on to head office to notify them also. So ladies and gentlemen, this is just a bit of an overview of some of the leaps and bounds that we've gone through in telematics in trying to make roads safer, not only for the drivers, but for everyone else who uses our workplace with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mick. That's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. You sort of find a way to put somebody in head office in the passenger seat.
Absolutely.
To be with your driver
Yes.
the whole time, and the range of technologies that you're using are amazing. Take me to the biometric stuff. You're right. I don't know how this thing knows that I'm sitting down, but it does, and it keeps telling me to stand up.
It does. They pick up so much information.
And so we're cool with it, right?
Yeah.
We give it away all the time.
Absolutely, we do.
So what do you do with the biometrics data from the struggling driver? I mean, certainly someone's going to become aware of it.
Absolutely.
Well, then what do you do?
There's a notification on the screen, and that will notify the driver to pull over immediately. Also, head office will be notified immediately as the secondary barrier, and they can call the driver to say, look, we've picked up this. Are you okay? What's happening?
And do you see that implemented as part of a broader program? Because presumably you're going to have to say, well, we've got to do something more if we keep having repeated incidents from this driver. They've got a mental or physical issue that's going on, a personal issue going on.
Absolutely. But as a business owner, it's our responsibility to take care of our staff and to help them find the right way. And if they're not capable or they're dealing with something, it's our responsibility also to get them the help, or at least hold their hand while they get the help that they need to try and take care of that issue.
Rather than having them on the open road just trying to get it done.
Absolutely.
So this whole fit for duty part of it, so there's the technical stuff of it, which we're getting increasingly in passenger vehicles, that 360 and 200% view of everything is just extraordinary. But the fit for duty seems to be this big element of it. Are you working on systems where you could measure or institute a reaction test to assess fatigue in real time, breath analysis for alcohol, that sort of thing?
These are things we can implement, absolutely. And it also ties back into the telematics. When you're wearing telematics, we can register sleep patterns to ensure their driver is getting the correct sleep when they're at home. These are things, there are so many things as an owner-operator that are outside our control. And being able to implement any of those systems, we've also got driver licence checks that we're doing. Every time they go through it, we're implementing driver licence, it will check. How do you know if they got a speeding fine? How do you know if they got pulled over DUI? When they log onto our system, they'll be checked immediately every time they go to operate that vehicle to ensure they are licensed and safe to do so.
And it seems like it's also a business back-end thing of how the tyre's doing, how we're doing with the maintenance of the vehicle, what's happening with a particular vehicle. So it's also doing that end of it for you.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a question here on the Google Doc. There are a number of great pieces of data covered here. How do you address privacy concerns and potential distractions for the driver?
Potential distractions as far as the telematics, we take great care to put them in. Firstly, if they're going to be utilising that screen, it needs to be in a safe position. Installation is key and point in this regard. As far as the privacy, when they're in a heavy vehicle and they're licensed to be driving that, we need to ensure, it is more important that we ensure they are driving that in a safe manner for the other road users on the road.
Than privacy.
Than privacy, absolutely. There needs to be a certain degree of give.
Okay, and how do you establish that to start with? You're obviously going to have some transparency around that.
Absolutely. Well, the whole industry needs to have a certain degree of transparency. For so long we've kept this information all in-house. Now it's coming the time where telematics may be mandatory within a few years. Transparency needs to start now, before the issues occur. And the more transparent we are, the more we can help each other.
One final question, we've only got a minute left. In terms of the load management, we were hearing from WorkSafe New South Wales earlier that, I can't remember the statistic, but a percentage of those injuries, once the drivers get off the roads and they come to deliver or to take delivery, it's the shifting of the loads that can be fatal for them. How confident are you that stuff that measures the movement and all the rest of it almost ends that problem?
Look, you can never say it's going to end. It depends on how it's installed, providing it's loaded correctly. If someone puts a box covering the ultrasonic sensor,
Yeah, right.
we can't guarantee that it's going to pick up something shifting at the back of the
Okay,
truck.
then telematics generally. Are we getting to a point where telematics generally will eventually reduce that problem? We saw some horror videos at the beginning of the day of the load doing this and people coming around corners. Will we eventually be able to eliminate those sorts of issues?
Absolutely. Otherwise, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You know, that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to make it roadworthy for everyone, safe for everyone to drive.
Yeah.
You hear about horrible stories about, you know, young children dying in car crashes with heavy vehicles. So we have to eliminate it. We have to figure out a way that we can do that. Otherwise, what's the point?
Terrific presentation. Thanks so much, Mick.
Thank you.